Good afternoon. This Lunch and Learn is about adding activity to your workday. So we're going to go a little bit over some stretches that we can do, some muscle activation to combat all of the sitting that we do throughout the workday. We're also going to go over some ways that we can get exercise in the workplace. And finally, we're going to finish up with some ergonomics that you can use at your workstation. Okay, so the first stretch we're going to go over is for your hip flexors. When we're seated all day or for a long period of time with our knees in front of us, that muscle that stretches from our low back to our femur becomes shortened, and it's in its shortened position and it's contracted a lot of the time. So it's easy for that to get tight, which can present as hip or low back pain. So what you're going to do is just step one foot straight back. And when you do this lunge stretch, I want you to really tilt your pelvis under. And what that's going to do is just force a little bit of extra stretch into that hip flexor, stretching the hip flexor on the side that you've got your foot stepped back. So the complementary exercise to this is glute leglets, which we're going to go over next. So like we talked about with the hip flexors being tightened when our knees are up in front of us, our glutes, which are on the opposite side, are constantly stretched. So what this exercise is going to do is just kind of engage those muscles, wake them up, get some blood flowing. And what we're going to do here is just lean straight forward. You can do this on the desk. You can do this on any flat surface. But what I want you to focus on here is making sure that your upper body doesn't move. The only thing that should move is your leg that's behind you, just lifting and lowering. So what this is going to do is just kind of help prevent imbalances in the muscle groups, kind of keep our legs moving in the ways that they should be, and hopefully prevent some knee pain that would come from being out of alignment. All right, so one more quick stretch that we're going to go over for the lower body is for the piriformis. This muscle is located underneath your glutes. It's deep within your hip, and it, again, becomes very tight and can become irritated with a lot of sitting, with a lot of running. So it's kind of a good stretch for everyone to have in their repertoire. So what you're going to do is just take your ankle across your opposite knee. You can do this seated or standing, and then you can just hinge forward from there. Make sure that you're keeping your foot flexed when you do this. All right, so the first stretch that I'm going to show you guys for your upper body is for our traps. When we've got our hands in front of us and our shoulders are up and we're doing a lot of typing throughout the day, it's easy for these to become very tight since we've got our shoulders up by our ears. We're wearing them like earrings. And so what we're going to do to stretch that out is just grab one hand behind our back, stretch it down to the ground, and tilt our ear to the opposite shoulder. So it's very important that any time that you think about it throughout the day, you just kind of roll your shoulders back, practice your good posture, so that way you keep these muscles from getting so tight, because as you can see in the picture, they stretch all the way up to the back of your head, they stretch down to your collarbone on the front side, and down to your shoulder blades in the back. The next stretch that I want you guys to focus on is for your chest. So all of us, whether we're driving or typing or reading or whatever, spend a lot of time with our hands out in front of us. And it causes that pec muscle to become pretty tight. This pain can present not only, in the chest, but also just in front of the armpit, which is kind of surprising, but you've got those, as you can see in the picture, your pec minor muscles that come right down along there. So what you're going to do to stretch this out, and you can use any wall for this, you can use the side of a cubicle, you can use really any kind of pole or column or anything. So you're just going to put your elbow up, keep your chest square to whatever wall is in front of you, and then just step straight forward. And this stretch is complemented by our wall angels. So when we're seated, we've got our hands out in front of us, we're not moving our shoulder blades a whole lot. Those muscles that move our shoulder blades can become weak, and wall angels are going to kind of fire those muscles a little bit, which makes them harder than they look, which is fun. What you're going to do is stand with your heels, hips, shoulder blades, your head, everything against the wall, and you're going to take your arms out to your sides like a touchdown. What you're going to do from here is basically just make snow angels on the wall, where the name comes from. Trying to keep a 90-degree bend in the arms the whole time, and also keep your elbows and the backs of your hands as close to the wall as you can. So we've got one more stretch and one more muscle activation for our upper body today. The last stretch is for our levator scapulae. These are the muscles that raise and lower the shoulder blades. Easy to remember because it's like they're riding an elevator. And these can become irritated when they are just having to fire all the time from bad posture, from typing, from driving, anything where our shoulder blades are raised and our hands are out in front of us. So in order to stretch this, I want you guys, you can do this seated or standing, but just look 45 degrees in either direction, and with just 2 fingers, gently pull your head forward. And just pulling until you feel that light stretch down in the back of your neck, stretching down to your shoulder blade. And our last muscle activation for the day is for our external rotators in our shoulders. And I know I keep going on and on about how our hands are in front of us, our shoulders are internally rotated, that's why our chest is tight, that's why the muscles moving our shoulder blades get weak, that's why we get so many muscle imbalances in our upper body. So when our external rotator muscles aren't being used a lot, they, like the glutes, are going to become weakened, and that unfortunately makes them susceptible to straining and tearing. So strengthening these muscles is just going to bring us a little bit more balance back in and reduce the risk of injury. So what I want you to do is just sit up straight, shoulders back and down, and start out with your hands out in front of you, kind of like you're going to hand something to someone in front of you. Glue your elbows to your rib cage, and then just take your thumbs to the back of the room. Hold for 3 seconds, and then release. And I want you to do it 8 to 10 times. All right, so we're done with our stretches that we're going to go over today. We're done with our muscle activators, all of the prehab stuff that we're going to go over in this Lunch and Learn. And now is time for the fun part, exercises for your workstation. So like we talked about in the April Lunch and Learn that's visible on the My UPA Wellness portal or on Insight, Tabata is a great way to get up, get your blood flowing, and not be away from your desk for too super long. All you're going to do is 20 seconds of work and 10 seconds of rest. So I included some examples of different exercises here for you guys, along with pictures, just so that you guys know what the proper form is for them. You know what I'm talking about. If you guys have any questions, then obviously you can reach out to me anytime. But what I want you to do is just set a timer. You can do it on your phone. You can grab your coworkers for this. You can do it on your own and just kind of do stuff that you can do at the workstation. So since it's only 20 seconds of work, I do want you to keep a pretty brisk pace. Since we're doing it at work, you don't necessarily need to do this all out. Just get up, get your blood flowing, and kind of combat the fact that you're spending so much of the day sitting. I know it's very easy for all of us to kind of look up and realize, oh my gosh, I have barely moved in an hour. So just take 4 minutes for yourself, and you're just going to do 20 seconds of any exercise, 10 seconds of rest, 20 seconds of any other exercise, 10 seconds of rest, and repeat 3 more times. I've also got dynamic stretching on here for you guys, and that's really any stretching for your muscles that you're doing while you're moving. So that still is going to get your blood flowing, get you a little bit stretched out, and is going to be a lot better than just sitting and typing. So anytime you think about it, just get up, get moving, do some stretching, do some quick exercises just to get your blood flowing and get to where we're not so sedentary. And one last thing that I want to leave you guys on is office ergonomics. I included a schematic here for you guys that just has a picture of what the proper seated position is when we're sitting at our desks. So a big one that I know I personally struggle with is having feet flat on the floor. If your feet don't naturally touch the floor when you're seated all the way back in your chair, go ahead, just get yourself a nice little footstool, and that's going to make a world of difference as far as being seated in a better position. So I want you guys to sit all the way back in your chair. Make use of that backrest to support your lower back. And like I mentioned when we were going through the stretches, anytime that you think about it, just roll your shoulders back and down. Try to think that you're stretching your shoulder blades down to the waistband of your pants, and that's just going to lengthen your spine, get your shoulders away from your ears, and help that upper body from becoming so super tight. For those of you guys that have a workstation where you can have a standing desk or anything like that, I want you guys to focus on when you lift that desktop up, that your eyes are right in line with the top of the monitor of your computer. And that goes for everyone, seated or standing. But just be mindful of that if you're moving, raising and lowering your desk, to be careful that you're always in a good ergonomic position. And that goes as well for your hands and your keyboard and everything like that. So if nothing else, I want the biggest takeaway from this for you guys to be more mindful. Just kind of watch what you're doing throughout the day. Make sure that you're prioritizing your health, that you're prioritizing activity in general, even if it's not concerted exercise. Just walk further, get moving, take the stairs, practice good posture. Anytime that you think about it, do something. Thank you so much for listening today. And if you guys have any questions at all, please call me or email anytime.